today we celebrate. And I know a whole bunch of you out there probably just want me to get back to rums and brandies, my normal kind of stuff. We gotta take a day to talk about American single malt whiskey. Because about a month and a half ago, back in December, the TTB finally approved legal standards for the category. Didn't mean it didn't exist before. There's like almost 30 years of history of American single malts. But it was always kind of like just something you put on a label in quotation marks. Didn't really have legal meaning. Now it has legal meaning. Now it has teeth, and there are rules. So, to celebrate this moment when suddenly American consumers and consumers around the world know what the heck they're getting when they see that on the label, we're going to taste through 5 of these things. And it's a little bit of a fun family reunion. All these people kind of know each other. Just for example, Minden Mill here, one of the newcomers, is headed up by Joe O'Sullivan, who is the former head distiller at Clear Creek Distillery, which makes McCarthy's. And of course, Steve McCarthy, who founded Clear Creek, learned how to distill, learned how to make, first brandy at St. George Distillery in Alameda. So it's kind of like a small fishbowl for these people. And I am excited to try these. I'm going to taste them out. Give them a score. I've already got these poured because I don't have a lot of room here, and pouring them, something's going to get elbowed off the table. But let's get started. Okay, we're just going to go up in order of ascending proof. And we're going to start with one of the oldest producers of the category, although not the oldest, St. George. St. George single malt whiskey. This is lot SM022, so lot 22. They are not super duper forthcoming about. There might be some website with information on what this particular lot consists of. I couldn't find it. But it's a blend of a whole bunch of different barrels, crazy stuff, apple brandy, whatever they had lying around. Basically, usually these started around 4 or 5 years old with some older stock in there. Bottled at 43%. And again, this is just one of the most influential distilleries in the history of the country. Like, this and Germain Robin are where post-war American craft distilling starts. This is ground zero. So let's get started. 43%. Yeah. The fun thing about these is it's still barley that's been malted, and then you turn it into a beer and you distill it, and you put it in a barrel for a while. It's still doing that. But what is in this glass, you put your nose in here and you immediately know we are not in Scotland right now. Like, this smells like a Sauternes or something. It smells like a dessert wine. Really, it smells like, it smells like an old Sauternes. So honey, apricot, like overripe, kind of rotting apples. Lemon bars, there's some nuttiness in this, like some mixed nuts. Some floral stuff, flowers. But you're like mixing your old Sauternes in like old school steel cut overnight oatmeal. It's really grainy at the same. It's hugely aromatic and fruity and floral, but very grainy at the same time. There's some orange, blood orange, peach, more apple, but there's also like a caramel apple thing or toffee apple. You know, those things. It smells a little bit like a hot toddy. There's like some spices, even some lime in there. Like, college days hot toddy, but nice. Turkish Delight. even a little bit of like a green tea note. This is super fun. And again, it does not smell like, you are not in Scotland. It's maybe has more similarity to Irish malts, but even then, like it's just a world apart. On the palate, this St. George is a little bit more awkward. I want to say flat, but flat is not the right word. It's yeah, that's not what I was expecting. Here's a shock. This tastes a little bit like like a hoppy beer. Honestly, but it's also like really sort of floral at the same time. So imagine you pour a really nice California IPA, or maybe something a little bit more like malty than that, like a red ale that's been popped that same amount, something like that. But then you like dropped a shot of Marta Gewürztraminer in there. You're getting this kind of lychee meets aggressive floral notes in there. But then you pour all of that into your steel-cut oats. Yeah, this is... I probably respect this more than I actually am enjoying drinking this, but I'm respecting this a lot. Apricot, nutshells, cocoa shells. So not actual chocolate, cacao. This is like the little shells. My mother-in-law introduced me. You can make tea out of it. It's yummy. Flowers, again, but also like flower stems. There's kind of a green note in this. Part of that is the hops. Part of it is just like, yeah, it's stemmy. Orange again, blood orange. More beer. A little bit of a doppelbock thing going on this time. Like a little bit bready and yeasty on that side. Huh. This is a tricky one because it's one, you watching this, I would love for you to try this because it's interesting. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on in here, but at the same time, I can't tell you with a straight face. We're going to go back and try this again with some water. You know, I can't tell you that you should go out, run out and buy a bottle of it. It's one of those, but I'm having fun with it. So let's move on to glass number 2, which is Clermont Steep, and this is Beam. This is Jim Beam. So this is kind of a project of Freddie Noe, whatever. And it is, so far as I can tell, just distilled in the Beam facility in Claremont from. Malted barley. They got their own jug yeast going on. And then it spends 60 months, so 5 years, in New American oak. They don't say it's charred, which makes me think some or all of it is toasted. And yeah, that is what this is. So it's very interesting to me that they created this entirely new brand. They didn't just call it Jim Beam single malts or whatever. Ooh. Yeah. 47%. All three of these in the middle are 47%. Something about U.S. malts, they really like, they look at 46 and they think, I can do better than that. They bump it up to 47. I love that. America. The nose on this. Imagine you mowed the grass and you took all the fresh grass clippings and you put them in a smoker and like cherry wood smoked them. That is what this smells like. It smells like cherry wood and fresh grass. Very herbal, very, very green. I mean, this, like, there's vanilla. I mean, this smells like a cooperage. There's just sawdust flying around, woodworking shop stuff, dried ginger, Lipton's tea. I mean, this really reminds me of, back in the day, stroke old, white beard. Back in the day when kind of the second generation of American single malts were trickling out, your Copper Foxes and your, I don't know, not Stranahan. Stranahan was a little bit cleaner than this. Your, your Pritchards. That's a good example. They all had this kind of character. This is doing that better than them, but it's that kind of like super duper grassy green tea sawdust driven style. There's some kind of like fermentary floral stuff going on. Herbs too. Lavender, coriander, oregano maybe. And some kind of bread too, but it's like really freshly baked grocery store rye with a little bit of caraway in there. Burned nutshells. A little hint of Tootsie Roll in here too. This is a interesting profile. Yeah, this is really giving me like American single malt aisle circa like 2010 vibes on the palate. As a single malt whiskey, I have questions. I'm not sure if this is doing it for me, but as like something that's halfway in between like a bourbon and an herbal liqueur, this sort of works. Kind of, follows through with the nose. Grass, Lipton's, cherry wood smoke. There's a little bit of a fresh mint thing in here. Lavender, coriander, aniseed, oregano, ginger, vanilla, sawdust. That kind of grungy, fresh bread with the caraway thing again. It is super duper forward in the mouth. Mouthfeel is okay. The finish is actually, if you like the green aspect of this, it's all right, but it's very, very forward in the mouth. This is not really heading back and tickling my tonsils at all. So it feels it's more youth, more than the St. George actually. Huh. I'm going to come back to this one, but initial impression, I think the spirit is pretty good. The spirit is interesting. I'm not sure use of new American oak is doing this a whole lot of favors. It's really actually really weird choice that they did this because, try to think of, malt, 100% malt distillate works really well in bourbon barrels. And try to think of someone out there who has more access to bourbon barrels than Jim Beam. And yeah, moving on. Minden Mill. Minden Mill, 5-year-old American single malt whiskey. This just came out. Minden Mill. in Minden, Nevada. Minden is, don't think Vegas. We're not in that super duper hot, gross part of Nevada. This is closer to like Lake Tahoe. It's kind of right across the border there. And yes, this is a project of, who is it? I made notes because I knew I would forget. Foley Family Wines, who own Silverado, and a whole bunch of other wineries, particularly in California, but kind of worldwide. And they wanted their own distillery, and they built it, and they got Joe Sullivan running this thing, which is really cool. All right, what is this? This is 5 years old, U.S. and French oak casks. So there's so that's fun. On the nose, I mean, it smells like a blend of like really good hot chocolate, like the European stuff where they actually just take chocolate and melt it down. That, and you're blending that with like sweet tea and a ton of just freshly ground black pepper. And it's grainy too. It's got oatmeal with honey in it. Like out the wazoo, oatmeal and honey. What is the wazoo? Question for another time. Pear, apple, orange peel. A little bit of fig happening. Some light flowers. I mean, it's a really just nice nose. It's in some ways it feels like the most traditional thing here so far. These two are kind of wild on the nose. This is like, okay, we return to sanity, but at the same time, it still doesn't smell like Scotland or Ireland or Japan or anything like that. It smells like it's its own thing. There's the kind of caramel raisin thing that I sometimes get in cognac. That would be the French oak, I guess. So there's a little bit of like a petite champagne vibe to this. I mean, yeah, nice job, Joe. Like, this just smells, it's very pretty. These two, I feel like I'd have to like warn people before I threw it at them. This one, I feel like I could just pour for someone. They would, immediately stick their nose in and go, that's nice. It's nice. It's balanced. It's impressive on the palate. So still showing a touch of youth. The mouth length thing. Feels good in my mouth. Finish hangs on. But there's nothing kind of back here tickling my tonsils. It's all kind of pretty forward. But this is really good indeed. It's got that kind of like European hot chocolate, sweet tea, black pepper thing. Plus some hazelnuts. And just like gobs of honey. And also some morning porridge, like really good morning porridge. Rum raisin, marzipan, apple, pear. A little bit of like freshly ground coffee. What kind of coffee? Let's go Colombian, since Colombia has been on my mind recently. Some orange peel, hints of toffee, little floral. This is just really balanced and nice and impressive. This is the one so far that feels the most like a conventional single malt. And yet at the same time, if I tried to pick a distillery or brand that this tasted like, I think I would come up empty. Maybe that's the French oak. But yeah, this is a good one. Give it some water. Come back to it. Chicago. Judson and more. I had never heard of these people until I, hit their table at a recent Independent Spirits Expo here in Chicago. And they were all set up, and they had a bunch of their spirits, and this was the one that kind of impressed me. So these folks are at what is it called? Rockwell in the Water, which is like Western and Belmont, kind of, right on the river on the north side. And they had a nightmare setting this place up. So it took them a couple of years. They had trouble getting a liquor license. One of the founders actually died in the process of them setting this up. So on the back, you have the signature of Colin Moore, who's the head distiller, and Judson Bergman, who was the recently passed fellow founder. What they've done here, it's pretty young. It's 2 years old, but they have got a it's a smoked malt, but it's not peat. They've actually smoked this with applewood, 65% applewood smoked, 35% not. 2 years in, what is this, Minnesota white oak, and yeah. So I tried this. I thought it was delightful, and we're going to do a review. I mean, the vibe from this, it reminds me of the early batches of McCarthy's in lots of ways. It's that same feeling of something. Yeah, it's young, but that's not a shortcoming. It just makes it feel like delicate and ethereal. I mean, it's like eau de vie of porridge. So there's like some fresh multi-grain bread. Yeah, applewood smoke. There's a little bit of like Oscar's applewood smoked bacon going on here without the bacon part. Pear, apple, light honey. And yeah, it just like the energy on this is very like eau de vie-ish. I don't know the kind of still they're using. I remember seeing one picture, and it looked like some kind of like hybrid setup. Nutshells, subtle nutshells, even like nut skins, like peanut skins, something like that. White pepper. There's like a mud thing to this, like wet mud. Ceylon tea. Toasted orange peel. There's nothing like big and loud and shouty about this. It's very different. It's subtle. It's fingertippy. It's, you have to be willing to take your time with it. Well, I mean, you also have to be willing to take your time with the St. George. The St. George is a little bit harder. This is much more. I keep coming back to the word delicate. Delicate is the word. On the palate. I really like this. A lot of people are going to find this young. Not because it's raw, because it just doesn't, have a ton of evident oak influence on it. It's there, but it's not what this is about. Again, it's got early McCarthy's vibes. So it's the best multi-grain bread ever, dropped in mud, and then put in the smoker to be applewood smoked. That's kind of what this tastes like. Black tea, sweetened black tea, apple, quince, pear, more mud, honey. There's a kind of sour graininess to this. What is that? I don't know if I can do better than sour grape. It doesn't really taste like sourdough, but that's we're in that territory. White pepper. There's a little bit of dark chocolate on the finish, too. Again, very different, but I mean, first impression, I like this more than the St. George. Sorry, St. George folks. It's yummy, but there's a lot there. Yeah, I like this. So, if you're in Chicago, keep an eye out. Let's give that a squirt of water and move on to the daddy. This is McCarthy's. I've reviewed McCarthy's before, but I have not reviewed this. This is the 6-year-old, bottled at 50% alcohol by volume. I will put the batch number and stuff below. And the reason I can now review this is because Southern seems to have listened to my complaints in previous videos and actually brought Clear Creek back into Illinois. Finally, thank God. So what is this? This was the original American single malt whiskey. This was Steve McCarthy distilling Port Ellen malt in his own still and throwing it into, Garryana oak for not very long, couple of years. This is up to 6 years though. And yeah, I'm glad to check in with the old classic. On the nose, yeah. Here's the thing, it's peat, yeah. But it's peat plus Garryana. And you either like Garryana or you do not. It's very Marmite. It's just so, this combination, it's so elemental, and I just love it. It's so, you're not distinct, mistaking this for any other distillery, any other product. It's like seawater and tons of earthy stuff, pu'er tea, like Lithuanian black breads, black sourdough rye. I mean, God, that's not even this smells like a late night gas station, like on the side of a highway. But also, there's some fruit notes. There's almost like a pear and apple eau de vie kind of character, almost like an Obstler kind of thing. Buttery oatmeal, like oatmeal where you just took a quarter stick of your grass-fed, overpriced butter and whatever, and just threw it in there. Black pepper. S'mores. I love this stuff. It's such a personality. Do I think this is up there right now with the Party Source single barrel I had, which distilled by Steve McCarthy himself? No, that might have been a hair better, but this is darn good. On the palate. Again, you're either going to like the peat plus Garryana thing or you're not. Even regular peat heads might say, this is a little too grungy for me. But on the other hand, I could see maniacs in other categories. If you like, I don't know, Claremont or something. Not so much Jamaica, but like Claremont, or even some of the aged rums, cane juice rums coming out of Mexico these days. or even mezcal nerds might get into this. If they've been having difficulty getting into whiskey from other places, give this a shot. This might be your jam. Peat, seawater, pu'er, grungy gas station, s'mores. It's actually more medicinal on the palate than on the nose. There's some like old bandages happening now. A little iodine-y stuff. Some dried flowers. But then, yeah, you're getting like that kind of fruit spirit thing, apple, pear, but even a little bit of like a plum thing. There's a little bit of a Slivovitz thing happening as well. Black bread, oatmeal. Yeah, and I'm not crazy about the kind of the kinship I'm seeing with the Judson and Moore here. Like, this also feels like, as much like an eau de vie, just like the old McCarthy's, even though this is 6 years old now. As much like an eau de vie as it does like a whiskey. It's grungy and earthy, and but at the same time, it feels delicate. It feels precise. McCarthy's is always just really special. It's just a very, very special whiskey. I'm going to give this some squirts, and we'll come back to it. 1 squirt and 2 squirts. Let's go back through these, give them scores. I have preliminary scores here, but I'm probably going to change a few. We'll see. Do I have my pen? I have my pen. Here we go. Back to the St. George. On the nose. Yeah, the fruit is just... I mean, sometimes we'll talk about Irish malts bringing a lot of fruit. This puts them to shame. I mean, this is Jolly Ranchers and like watermelon lollipops. Like peppery mango, tangerine, and that kind of like, did I mention green tea? There's kind of that green tea thing as well. The graininess kind of tones down when you add water. Yeah, again, this is just a fun nose. Like this does not smell like almost anything else I've encountered on the palate. Okay, so the water brings out some flower stems and more hops. More beer, but also some dark chocolate. What about to score this? Again, I can't tell you to go out and buy a bottle of this, but I really think you should try it. Even that's wrong, because I feel like you go to the bar, to like a whiskey bar, and you have a 1 glass of this. That may not be enough to kind of wrap your brain around what's happening here. This is more like, you buy a bottle and then you pass it around to friends so that everyone can keep it and kind of live with it for a couple of weeks. This is, it's good, it's tough, it's good. It is a thinking person's malt. I mean, there's no getting around that. Score what? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do like my little... I'm going to do an emoji. I'm going to call this an 84 think emoji. You know, you got the... like that. Because this is not one you buy to kind of just slosh into a glass and, you know, taste and enjoy. That isn't going to work for this. But it is one you can take a great deal of intellectual appreciation in if you take the time with it. And I think that's worth something. So 84 think emoji out of 100 for the St. George. Moving on. We are on the... oh god, it's the Clermont Steep. This is the tough one of the group. Not to say the St. George isn't tough too, but this is the one... yeah... on the nose, water brings out... I mean, it brings out some mint. Otherwise, it's much the same. I mean, it's really grassy. It's really, you know, like cherry wood smoky. Sawdusty. But I do like the nose better with water. It's a little bit less austere and herbaceous. On the palate, it's winning me over a little bit. It sweetens up with water again. It still feels super short in the mouth. Finish is okay, but like everything is happening up front. There's no tonsil tickling at all. It's okay. It's you have to keep standards in mind. I like this. It's a difficult one, but I also like this a heck of a lot more than I like your standard Glenfiddichs and Glenlivets and those. It feels like more of a quality bespoke project than those. 83 plus for this. I really feel like they kind of missed the boat a little bit on this one, because all they needed to do, I mean, was take half of this distillate and age it in bourbon barrels. You know, keep the rest in your toasted new oak or whatever, charred, whatever it is you're using for this. But just half in regular ass ex-bourbon barrels, which you have a ton of because you're friggin' Jim Beam. And I guarantee you this would be a better product. It would be just friendlier and even a little bit more complex. I think the character, the spirit would shine through a little bit more. But that being said, I feel like I'm trash talking this. Certainly not bad. And if you're willing to accept this kind of like malt as bourbon meets like dry herbal liqueur kind of thing that this is doing, you could be into this, but I wouldn't pay retail for it. I didn't. Moving on to the Minden Mill. All right, now with water. Not a whole lot of change with water. God, it's a good nose. I mean, this really feels like a crossbreed between like a really beautiful fruity space cider, something like that, like a Strathisla or something, meets like a good petite champagne cognac. That's the vibe on this. Just super pretty, super duper elegant. I like this. And that's the difference. Water improves really the entire mouth presence on this. The mouth feels better. The finish is better. The length is better. I was complaining about that before. Now this is starting to tickle the back of my throat a little bit, which I like. That shows quality. I know people aren't running out and burning down the stores to grab, $50, $60 5-year-old American single malt, but keep an eye on this. Like, this is worth a grab. This is really darn good. It's very traditional. It's very accessible for anyone who's ever tasted a single malt before, or bourbon drinkers may not be into this. More malt drinkers, I guess. It's an easy transition to this, but at the same time, it's kind of got its own character. It's kind of this malty cognac-y thing, which is very, very, very elegant and delicious and special. 85 plus. I'm not going to score this, into the stratosphere. I could stand a hair bit more, mouth presence, a hair bit more complexity still. But yeah, keep an eye out for this one. Really nice. Minden Mill. Great job, Joe. Coming in towards the end of this, Judson and more. Again, on the nose with water. Yeah, okay, the yolk is coming out now. Just a little bit more like vanilla and sweetness. But it still doesn't feel like a traditional whiskey. It still less a traditional malt whiskey. I mean, it really has eau de vie vibes. But I really dig this on the palate. The first sip I had of this with water, it felt just a hair bit hollow in the mid palate. I mean, sorry, that's a wine term. What I mean is, it felt like big arrival, and it felt like it kind of fell off a little bit before the finish kind of kicked in. It felt like it kind of stuttered for a second, but then the second sip, no problem. Let me try this again. Can I score this as high as the Minden Mill? You know what? Screw it. I will. 85 plus. Like, this is... The problem is, I don't know where you take this from here, because I don't think this needs more aging. I think this is pretty much perfect as is. I don't know if you can wring any more points out of this. Unless you just bottle it at higher strength, which you could, I wouldn't mind that. Hi, Judson, more people. Hi, Colin. I would love a cast strength version of this. This is terrific. Like, 85 plus. It's... Yeah, I don't know what the next step is for this spirit after this bottling, but I like this a lot. It's really good. I don't think it's for everyone. It's for more people in the St. George or the Clermont Steep. I will tell you that. But yeah, 85 plus. And I guess if you're on the north side, stop in. Give these folks your money. They had to hurt for a long time to get this going. I'm sure they would appreciate it. All right, moving on, though, to the Daddy, which is probably going to win this flight. And I hate it. I would love to give the W to one of these challengers here, but I don't think it's going to happen. McCarthy, 6-year-old on the nose. With water, the s'mores come out. Oh, yeah. The dark chocolate and burned marshmallow, and I love it. But it's still, like, just grungy as hell. It's still, you know, like, you're smoking peat at a, you know, grungy New Jersey gas station or something. You like this or not. On the palate, and this is another swimmer. Are all these going to get pluses? Jesus. Yeah, I mean, this water just brings up the mouth presence all around. Finish is better, mouthfeel is better, mouth length is better. Everything's better. This is just, it's a fantastic whiskey. It is not for everyone. Try before you buy. Make sure you like the Garryana peat combination. But if you do, I mean, 88 plus. 88 plus points, and the easy winner of this comparison. That being said, like, I kind of like all of these for somewhat different reasons. It's just a weird bunch of whiskeys, and that's fun. That's great. I'm happy that these exist, and it's not just like people, I don't know, dunking Bushmills in dripping wet sherry casks or whatever. I don't need more of that. I want more of this. So what do I want to say? For those of you transitioning from Scotch whiskey who are just looking for something yummy from America, Minden Mill. This is the winner in that respect. Like, this is just, at any point in your whiskey drinking journey, you can grab this and enjoy it. This is really, really well made. Beyond that, like, if you are enjoying your Isla stuff and you've thought to yourself sometimes, you know, I wish this was just a little bit more grungy and disgusting in the best possible way, grab the McCarthy's. If you appreciate old school McCarthy's and want something with that same vibe with its own twist, or you appreciate Chicago spirit and you just hate Malort, buy the Judson more. I really like this. The Clermont Steep is the clear loser of this lineup, but I feel like this might have an audience. If you can deal with the aggressively herbaceous side of this, there's some quality here. I could see it being used as a digestif for, you know, like mix some Campari or something into this. I don't know. You figure it out. You're smart people. And yeah, the St. George, it's a classic. It's definitely a thinker, but a worthy thinker, and is worth some of your attention for being weird and interesting. And yeah, that's the lineup. 84 think emoji, 83 plus, 85 plus, 85 plus, 88 plus. Thanks for watching, and cheers.